So, welcome everyone on today's webinar, New Features in Newired 22.0. This is a Newired Customer Roundtable. This webinar should be quite interactive from the point of view that I expect you to ask many questions related to what I will be presenting. My name is Jiri Walek. I lead the product management team. And what we want to cover today, I'll just start with one slide that explains how we actually work. Then we will speak about the Newired 22.0 release. I will not stay in the slides. I'll for sure, let's say, use a lot of the product during my presentation. So there will be the live demo session included in this webinar. I want to also touch not just what we have just released, but a short-term outlook into our future, into 22.1, and then a bigger Q&A session at the end of today's webinar. So, as you may already know, we use our blog on our website to actually promote most of our new capabilities and news and the information that you might be curious about. So I took a chance and I structured today's presentation really based on the content that you already found possibly on our blog post. And what I want to start with is just to explain how we actually work, because what you can see here is that we have released a new version called 22.0. We mark it as a major release, but here we also speak about the releases 22.1 and 22.2. So just to confirm, usually we have 3 minor releases per year, and then at the end we have a so-called major release. During 2021 calendar year, we have actually decided to change it a bit. So we had just 2 minor releases, 21.1 and 21.2. And then we had the major release 22.0. What it means is that, of course, we do the road mapping, we prepare our plan for the calendar year. But as I've probably said several times in the previous webinars, when we have the feature completely developed, completely implemented, we don't wait for the major release, but we can release the new capabilities also throughout the year in the so-called minor releases. So the same will happen this year in the calendar year 22. We will have the next minor release in March 22.1, then June 22.2, September 22.3, and then everything will be packed together in the major release, which will be coming in January 23. So what it actually means is that whenever we speak about the release 22.0, it also includes the capabilities that we have presented already before, such as the input validation, refined user experience for content authors, media storage, curated library. We have already touched it. So today I really want to focus what's really new and that was brought by the very last addition to our major release, so in the last quarter, more or less. And let's dive deep directly. And the first major topic we want to cover today are the so-called playbooks. So to understand what the playbooks are about, I think we have studied a different, almost consumer type of applications such as Spotify or Netflix, and we have learned that a lot of personalization or a lot of structuring of the content happens with the playlists, and in the same time the playlists are, let's say, similar from the enterprise point of view with the playbooks, which really help the people understand how to do something, how some specific domain is structured, invoicing, release management, whatever. So the playbooks, as a key benefit, what is the outcome, is to help you organize your product tours or multitude of tutorials/journeys into different categories. So you don't need to really search only, but you have really the curated list that was prepared by a trainer, by the HR manager, and that's what the playbooks are. But maybe it's much better to go live and show how it looks from the end user perspective, and then also spend a bit of time on how do you actually create the playbooks. So let's go like into our demo server. So we are as usually using the Suite CRM application, and let's launch here the help menu here. You see this menu has been completely reorganized with the latest major release. So we don't expose now only the journeys, but we have here a special category called playbooks. I can of course search, and it will find me the playbooks if there are too many of them. But the most important actual category is that if I select the playbook, I see what journeys are included, and I actually see whether I executed the playbook or not. What it means actually is that if you run the incognito view and we open it here, I hope that this will not keep my data because I've been trying to use it a couple of minutes ago. So if you open here, we will see that the playbooks are, let's see, the status is empty and they have not been executed yet. So what the playbooks enable you to do is, instead of just having hundreds of journeys organized just by some textual conventions, you can now group the playbooks or group journeys into categories like getting started, tell us what you think. And for the getting started playbook, I can just execute it and go through the first journey. So let me just go through it quickly. This is pretty long one, but we'll be there in a second. So now when I executed the first journey and I click help again, I should continue my training, my getting started overview with all the other journeys that have been packaged into this getting started category. So when I started, you see that I will be running through the second journey from the given list. Now, okay, so from the end user perspective, the journeys, the playbooks are folders, playlists for the users, defined for different categories. How do I create them? So if I open the Newired editor for a second, so let me go to the editor. We see here that we have journeys and tips, and in the version 22.0, to open the playlist playbook editor, I go here to the menu, I open the playbook editor, and I see here are my two different playbooks. I can easily create a new one. So this is our sales onboarding, let's call it like this. And for the sales onboarding, we want to have the journey how to create an account, maybe also the Newired survey, so I can just drag and drop a couple of the journeys into my onboarding. Now this is how easy it is to actually create a new playbook. You see that we have by mistake created also this playbook here. So in the same menu, I can just easily delete the given playbook. For the playbooks, the same publishing criteria applies. So you see, like for journeys, whatever I'm doing here in my editor is not immediately visible to the end users. So to publish the given, let's say, playbook, given package, I still need to set the status of it to active and go through the publishing process on the portal, on the server. So if I go back to the slides, we see that there are some of the typical questions what you answer when you have the playbook feature enabled. Things like, what are the top 5 journeys I should pass to be introduced with a specific topic? So I don't need to search what are the top most important journeys. This list is organized by the content author. what is my progress? We'll speak about that also later when we speak about the future, but I need to know which packages did I pass, which of them are still, let's see, on my to-do list. What if I want to get to the advanced level? What do I need? Which journeys are there if I want to get to an advanced level? So you can really organize your journeys into many different categories and help people to navigate better around the content. So these were playbooks. Before we move to the next topic, which will be user experience level, I will open the Q&A panel and find out if there are any questions. The question is, can we enforce a sequence? If you can enforce a sequence, if you can enforce the sequence of the journeys in the playbook, that journey A or B can start only after journey A. This is not possible in the current moment, but we will definitely make a note. This is a great, let's say, tip. What you can, of course, do, you can define the sequence. So in the playbook editor, you can really move them up and down. But in the current moment, we don't restrict to go through the list in an arbitrary order. But we will definitely make a note. This is a good one. How do you monitor that users have completed a playbook? So the user itself today can monitor this nicely in the interface as I presented. I mean, there is this nice check marks, etc. What you may be asking for is a manager informed about a user, Jack or Katie, let's see, did she or he actually executed the given playbook? In the current moment, as you know, the Newired is pretty strict on storing personal information. So in the current moment, this information are strictly stored on the client, and we don't push this information to the server. So in the current moment, the user needs to inform the manager by his or her own, but in the future, we have this on the roadmap to actually introduce the optional module to store the playbook results also on the server. So in the current moment, we don't provide this information. It would be possible by API to push this information into your learning management system. But in the current moment, let's say the Newired doesn't store it on the server due to the privacy reasons. Would be super interesting to see whether playbooks can be connected to the LMS. That's definitely a great idea, and we are continuously improving our APIs, so we can definitely work together on this connection, because we definitely have the, let's see, the system that the Newired can be, let's say, customized with the Newired APIs. So if you want to, let's say, push the information from Newired to the LMS results database, we can definitely work together on that even today. Can I pass and start again at a later date time? Yes, you can definitely. Let's see, the great thing also about the playbooks, and this is really also a great question, is that when we have so far, I mean, if the customers were asking what is the onboarding, some of our service engineers were recommending you create a one journey that is called initial onboarding, and this journey will go through everything you need to learn in a given application. But there is a problem that when you start a journey, you always start a journey from the beginning, almost always. And what you can do now is that you can actually break this long journey that maybe have 100 steps into many of the smaller journeys. This will now become not the onboarding journey, but the onboarding playbook with many of the chapters. And then when you start the playbook, you can actually pause it or stop it anytime, and let's say come back tomorrow and start it again, and the system remembers which of the journeys have been executed, which of them not. So the playbooks actually bring a lot of granularity into the let's say system. Good. Let me go to the next topic. I'm sure that you will be asking some questions. There's also something about the form validations. This is not included in the playbooks. I'll speak about it later in the final Q&A session. So, user experience level. There is a very common discussion we have with our clients that sometimes, very often, when they start using Newired for the first time, they think that Newired is mostly for the newbies, for people that needs to be really trained first. And once you get onboarded, once you got onboarded, when you are trained, you shall not see the need to use Newired anymore. And I think this is really almost traditional misunderstanding what's the value of digital adoption platform. I've been working in the enterprise organizations for a while in the past, and I know that sometimes there are complex procedures that you execute once per year, once every 3-4 months, and you may simply forget how to file your expense report in SAP system, as I was constantly forgetting how to do it. And no matter how would I be trained, I would always forget. So we believe that there is definitely one part of the audience that would use Newired as the initial onboarding tool, but we also recommend highly the use case to bring enough knowledge also for more advanced users, especially on the use cases that you run just once a while. But with this approach, it is really important to differentiate in the user interface whether you provide the guidance for the newbies, for the let's say initial onboarding, or if you are an advanced user. Because we have listened to our customers where they have stating concerns that they don't like the autoplay journeys because the advanced users are frustrated that these pop-ups appear randomly here and there. And for that, we said, okay, let's give end user a chance to actually express what is his or her so-called experience level. So the key benefit should be that based on your application experience, you get specific journeys, but also, let's see, the information whether the journeys play automatically or not will be based on your level of, let's call it, application maturity. So let's go again from the slides back to our user interface. Let's see how it looks from the end user perspective. You see, I have here my standard list, and I can go here, and I actually see here a different settings, which is the user experience. And now, based on the different user experience, I would be able to see a different journeys, but not just to see a different journeys. In this case, there are not that many differences, but actually when I set that my user experience level is higher, the system will not start the journeys automatically, and I would need to start them on request, and that's one of the common difference between the newbies and the advanced users. Let me tell you immediately that the list of levels, so what you see here, is adjustable. You can really define your own levels. You can define, you use your own terminology and call it as you like. So how can I leverage this behavior or how can I use this or define journeys specifically for different experience levels? Let me go back to the to editor. And let's create an advanced journey, okay? So, or better, the how to login journey probably has very little value for the for the newbies or for the advanced users. So we already see that here on the level of the journey, I can define the visibility rules. You are probably aware of that, that for each journey, I can define when will this journey be visible. In this case, the how to log in journey, and very dummy example, will be visible only on the login page, and it will be only visible if I'm not proficient or if actually I am a newcomer. This is maybe a better criteria. So how do I add it? Here under add new rules, I have here the new option called user experience levels. This is exactly what brings you ability to define such a criteria. So if you save it, it was actually there, and we go back to our browser, and if I log out, I see that there is this journey, there is no journey how to log in. And if I set here a newcomer, I'll have here my how to log in journey. So this is really just, let's say, a sample, small example of how this can be leveraged to filter the list. But what I have already said, it's equally important to think about whenever you define your auto start rules. You can say that this journey will be played automatically only for the newcomers. So now I'm saying, hey, this CRM overview journey will start automatically anytime I open the index page if the person is a newcomer. So this really helps you to define a more fine-grained segmentation that is not just based on where does the user come from or what is the user role, but it really allows user to select his or her own experience level. And based on that, the Newired digital adoption platform will behave differently. And this applies for journey, visibility rules, for autoplay rules, anything where the rule system is being used. So that's about the user experience levels. As you see today, I'll open the Q&A panel and have a look whether there are any questions about the user experience levels. So let me see here. There is still questions regarding the playbooks. If you have journeys in different languages, do the playbooks also get generated in those languages? Yes. If you have the playbooks, let's see, the playbooks themselves are translatable. So the name of the playbooks, what we still see here on the screen, needs to be translated as well. And let's see, the content of the playbook is then also, let's see, translated. So yes, the translation feature has been aligned with the new playbook feature and its instance. Please show settings again too quick. This would be great if you remind me on what should I show. I would be open to demonstrate it again, but just please tell me what. It would be great if you could set that level per journey per playbook. If you speak about this, the journey experience level, we really do it other way around. That you don't set you don't need to, you can do it per journey individually. So if I can open any journey here, I can of course express who is this journey for. And in this case, I mean, we decided to use the user experience levels because there could be different criteria. So the experience level is not just something that you set on a journey, but you can say, hey, this journey is visible for everyone, but it will start automatically just for newbies. Or you will say, this journey is not visible for advanced users. So we have more than just, let's say, a drop-down list. Who is this journey for? With the visibility and auto start rules based on the experience level, you can really express in details how can the system behave. That was a design decision Of course, we could have also done it differently, but we believe that the rule engine is really important because it can also be, for example, and now I made a mistake. I just want to roll it back. So give me just 1 second because I was on some specific journey and I changed that. Okay, I will find out later. Anyway, you can apply the same for tips. So some customers were asking, we don't want a tips to be visible for advanced users. And this is exactly what you can do now. That again, also for the tips, you can define the so-called visibility rules and use who is this specific tip visible to. Or you can say you can use the auto show criteria that was introduced last year, that some tips will show automatically. And again, if I enable the auto show, I can add the user experience level conditions. So now with having this option as a rule, as a condition, you can really use the experience level to control anything. Is this the visible? Will it show automatically? Yes, no. So it's really very flexible and robust engine. How do you suggest we make our users aware of the experience level and what is expected of them in this area? This is a nice question. We have been already discussing, I mean, do the people need the onboarding over onboarding? Okay, so do we need to train them how to use the onboarding? So do we need to train them that if there is a label newcomer, that they will click here and actually select it? If this is necessary, because really the people have a different IT experience level, so really depending on the on the IT maturity almost. I would maybe recommend that really, because the newcomer is a default level. I mean, the first journey they can start playing automatically could really be something that explains how to use Newired and let's explain the fact that you have the playbooks, you have the experience levels. Maybe this is really something that would be best with just having one video that starts playing automatically, because if the people are not so common in using the digital adoption platforms, maybe let's say this initial onboarding can be done as a video, but it really varies or it depends on what type of the people is this interface for. In your case, I would probably consider one journey that starts playing automatically and explains how to use the digital adoption platform. Would you want a playbook with multiple levels? Probably not. I personally think that the simpler is the structure, the better, especially as we speak about the onboarding. So what we of course discussed and what we will see that we have not in this version, but we will soon release, is what is the segmentation of the playbooks. So actually you want to say that I have the getting started playbook and then I have advanced playbook. And you want to have the advanced playbook visible only, for example, if you are an advanced user, or did you really have some, maybe even a sequence. Maybe it can be in a way that when you get started, it changes automatically the level from newcomer to the advanced. Anyway, the long story short, I would still rather keep the playbooks flat, so don't have them hierarchical, but we may actually decide to change this and rather really think about some kind of the segmentation that different playbooks will appear for the users in a different conditions. Maybe really have the dependencies, like when you finish the getting starting playbook, then enable another one, so have some sort of dependencies. Because we definitely believe that there should not be hundreds of playbooks, that the list of playbooks should be pretty limited. may I show an experience level in the label on the journey? You can, but in the same time, the beauty of that is that if I will switch to, let's say, proficient user, I may see journeys that are not there for a newbie. So the point is to actually filter, and what you see as an experience level, of course, maybe the proficient user also wants to see the basic users, maybe not. But the point is that you don't need to put a label, because if this is correctly set, the people would see only the stuff that is relevant for them, and then grouped into the different categories here or different folders with playbooks. But you know what? I think that the best is to give it a try, play with these two new features for a while, and then actually we can have an open discussion how to handle it. Are we able to set permissions for different roles? Permission concept is a slightly, the permissions are defined by these visibilities. So you can definitely say that some roles like do not have access to a specific journeys. So on that level, yes, we don't call it permissions, we call it, let's see, visibility rules, but technically it's the same. And first, really thank you for all these questions. This makes this webinar really great and interactive. I like it. Good. Let's go to the slides again and continue with our presentation. So let me go to the PowerPoint. Good. So next, property rule testing. This is really something that I would not be able to really demonstrate nicely because it's a quite technical feature, but I still want to highlight it. So the feature that we have in the product for a while is the so-called custom property rules. They enable you to segment content visibility, autoplays, journey branching, etc., based on any dynamic criteria by passing the values to Newired via API. And we have seen that maybe not each and every one of you understood that feature in the past. So I just want to touch that for a second. So what we are speaking now about is that we already touched that section called visibility rules. So the visibility rules on the journeys or on the steps let you control when something is or is not visible for the end user. And one of the type of the rule is a so-called custom property rule. There could be different, let's say, it's called custom because we don't know what type of properties can you actually think about. So we can imagine that your application maybe has a switch like dark or advanced or light. Maybe your application has a switch like mobile or desktop. Maybe your application is based let's say is different if you launch it from VPN or outside of the VPN. And what we can do with these so-called custom property rules is that you can pass from your application via the so-called API, so via a little customization script, you can tell us whatever information you want. So you can tell us, for example, the theme, or let's call it UI version. So maybe your application has you have two different versions, and the users can load the new style or the old style. And we can say, hey, so give us the UI version in the property name, and then we say if this UI version is 1, 2, 3, then this journey should be executed. Or this can be used also maybe you already have some sort of the role-based system in your application, and you want to tell us what is your user role, current user role. Of course, we don't know it because we integrate only via the UI level. So we don't know who is actually logged in into your target application. But if your application will tell us via API what is the current user role, that's, for example, admin, then we can behave differently based on these conditions. So the custom rules are a great way to segment, and actually also from the performance point of view, very quickly, a different content for different users, or to have a different journeys based on the different types of the user interface, etc. And what we have actually seen is that in the previous version, it was not easy to test this before going live, because you were not able to actually test these rules properly in the editor. So you were almost flying blind, and you first need to set up these rules, then go to the preview and execute them. So with this new feature, you can actually test these custom property rules directly in the editor before the deployment actually starts. I'm checking the questions. There are actually no questions on that. I can imagine why is it so, because this is really highly complex discipline, but we still believe that this is important for you to understand that for more advanced integrations, we have a framework that we can use immediately, and this can actually integrate the Newired digital adoption platform even more tightly into your target application. Last but not least, from the 22.0 version, we made the platform up to 10 times faster regarding the algorithms that actually compute if the journey should or should not be visible, if the tips should appear on the screen, if the specific step is recognized on the single page. So it's a great reason for you also to upgrade. All our hosted customers have already been, let's say, updated as far as I was told. But for those of you who are using Newired on premises, this is also something that I would consider important. You may ask, okay, it's 10 times faster. Does it mean that the previous version was so slow? You know, we see it every year with a new Apple launch of their new iPhones. Everyone is trying to make the systems faster and faster. So for us, we are performing the very, let's say, robust scalability tests. What happens if you have thousands of steps, etc. And of course, we need to make sure that, let's say, we enable a great scalability of our systems. So we have not seen major concerns from our customers regarding the speed of the, for example, Newired journeys. There have been some limitations with the Newired tips, with the very big numbers of them, and that's why we actually also, let's say, escalated it, and we really improved the speed of our algorithms significantly. And when you go to our blog post, you can read about tons of small improvements that we either fixed or improved based on our testing, based on your feedback. You can read it. I don't have time to go through each and every one, but there are more than 100 items that I've just seen by myself, and these are just really great small improvements. And I'm a little bit in a hurry because I just really want to also spend a little bit of time to give you the outlook, what's coming in the version 22.1. So if you remember, this is scheduled for the first quarter of the year, so February, March 2022. So we had the major release January. The first service release should be at the end of the Q1 in February. If you ask ourselves how it can happen that we release so quickly after the major release, it's because the major release was actually finalized before Christmas. But even before, even though we had finalized the release before Christmas, we rather, let's say, saved it and released it in the beginning of the year. So what's coming for the 22.1? The first one is what many of you already know, that we plan is the enterprise user management and a single sign-on. So we actually, let's say, are working on the integration with the user identity management systems, Active Directory, etc. So whenever you actually need to log in from the portal or from the editor, you would have two options if this is enabled on your system, or only one option, so you can completely disable the login via username and password and keep just login via Active Directory or something, and you would be able to really use your corporate user management system. What is the benefit of that? Benefit is that from the security point of view, you have just one password. If there are password policy rules, like you need to change your password every 3 months, this is implemented in the one single system only. If you want to use a multi-factor authentication, this is now fully supported through the popular, let's say, user management systems. So this is really a common enterprise requirement. We have it in progress, and we plan to release it in a couple of weeks or months at the end of the quarter. We have spent some time today speaking about the playbooks. There have been some items that we have not been able to, let's say, integrate into the first version, so into the 22.0. So we have some of the improvements, for example, to see the percentage where I am with my playbook, export the playbooks whenever you duplicate a site, export to Microsoft Word. But what we have also did is that we actually introduced a completely new menu here in the editor. This is not in 22.0, this is in 22.1, which will be released in the end of Q1. But you see that actually we have integrated the new menu here, which, as you have already said, sometimes it's also about how do we make sure that the feature is nicely visible to the users. And if you remember, the playbooks were in the past a bit hidden in the top menu. So we believe they are so important that they deserve a dedicated menu here. So that's why we added the new tab into our editor, and you can do the same stuff you are already able to do with the 22.0, but directly here in this user interface. I've been already telling you that about these percentages and progresses. So with the 22.0, you can only see whether the playbook was completed or not. With 22.1, you will be also to see the percentage of where are you with the given playbook. You can see it here on the summary page. So you really have more capabilities to organize or use playbooks, export when you duplicate site, export to Word, etc. Last thing, this is the last thing what I want to speak today. This is really one of my favorite small improvement we are including in an upcoming release. This is how to make the next button mandatory by blocking the on-screen input. So as a content author, I would like to block the user from interacting with any item of the page except the next button by making it mandatory. And I will show you that, because that's really something which I really believe it's kind of important. So what we have learned is that Newired is great to give you, let's say, instructions how to use the software. But sometimes you see here, you have a bubble that says, hey, this is something. So this type of a journey, we call it a product tour. So you are not advised to click somewhere, but you are advised to click here on next. And this just points to something on the screen and explains what is on the screen. But what we have seen is that many of the people, whenever they see the call out pointing somewhere, instead of clicking on next, even though we tell the people, please click next, they click here. And if they click somewhere else, the journey will actually discontinue, and this will navigate to the other, let's say, place. In this case, from whatever reason is that we will see it somewhere else. For example, here, if I click here, you see I go somewhere else, it opens something, and me as a user, I'm lost. So what we are now working on, we are working on helping the content author to decide whether you actually enforce people to click on next and they are not able to do anything else, or if they should be able to do something on the page. Because there are cases when you, for example, say, now please fill in this task description. When you are ready, click next button. So you are telling the people to go there and enter data into the system. When they finish, they should click next. So it shouldn't be always the case that when there is this next button on the call out that the system should block the user input. The user, let's say the content author, must be responsible to decide if the next button is, let's say, is mandatory, and any other, let's say, input should be disabled or not. So this is really some also quite important feature to make sure better robustness of your journeys, because we have already spoken to some of our clients that even though the journey is quite explicit and is telling users where to click, people simply do mistakes, or unintentionally they click somewhere else and they get lost. So I like this functionality a lot, and it's also included in the 22.1 among many other fixes and improvements that we had no chance to cover today. There is a question: if I want to apply this new function in existing journeys, how to do that quick and efficient without one-step adjustment, one general adjustment. Fortunately, I'm not sure which function, unfortunately, so very likely we will need to do it offline, because we actually are running out of the time. Let me also see some questions more. What single sign-on protocols do you support? To be honest, I'm not really an expert in all the SSO protocols. I would really recommend you, if you want to use the single sign-on feature, contact us immediately on the support so we can establish the conversation and make sure that we know all the details about your infrastructure, because I've been already told by R&D that, let's say, there are many differences between different SSO vendors. We will likely not support all of them at the first in the first moment, but if we still get some feedback from you as a clients, we can still adjust our plans and test the system on other SSO providers. Does SSO work also for on-premise deployments? Yes. So the single sign-on is not only for Google. It's not only for let's say the popular user management systems. We focus on enterprise. So this works first both for customers on-premise and hosted customers, I mean Newired, but it also means that your identity management can be in the cloud like Azure, or it can be a local Okta server. It's really up to you. I saw that the word export is a should have. Will this be included? Yes, even though it was considered, we are speaking about the playbooks, even though they were, let's see, this user story has been marked as a should have, it is already done and is included. Can I start a playbook automatically? You can start a journey from a playbook automatically. I would need to check, we'll come back to you, if you can actually start a playbook automatically, because we have been thinking about marking one playbook as a default one. So whenever I open the digital adoption platform Newired for the first time on a given application, the users would not need to pre-select the default playbook. but it will start automatically. Honestly, I forget whether this is implemented or not. I will definitely come back and clarify it to you. This kind of important feature. Will you release an accessible version? We speak about the user accessibility point of view. This has been discussed, and it's on our roadmap. So we include let's say the support for accessibility standards, the screen readers, let's say high contrast themes, etc. On our roadmap. So, for example, what we know is requested by some of our customers is that they want to have ability for the user to pick the high contrast theme. So they don't want to have each theme to be the same, because, for example, colorblind people may need a more contrasted theme. So the accessibility standards can be already partially covered by deploying the custom themes, but there are some features that we have on our roadmap. Good. And so there is a last note I see here. Another question, but this has been a very interesting review of updates. Thank you. Thank you as well. If anything, let us know. And I'm really happy for all the great questions. This was fun to be here and speak about what we have released and what's coming. Have a great day. Bye.